First of all, I want to thank you for the organized service that you present me with when I show up here after a trip of almost an hour, hitting every red light in Florida and falling into this chair. And thank you for this setup here that you provide me with, so I don't have to move from the chairs to the pulpit and back twice. So, and the music, I appreciate. I'm a musician at heart. I don't play anything at the moment, but I appreciate all the music I've heard here, from a 3-member choir to pianists. I appreciate. Thank you for the music. Thank you for the music. That came from Mamma Mia, right? I'm a Mamma Mia fan too. Okay, now my question to begin today is, do you remember the polyvagal theory? So many blank looks, I can't stand it. The sermon where I talked about the vagus nerve and how to go from being all clenched up in your life in a moment of a day to being unclenched and relaxed. Don't you remember that? Yes. We did it with breath. So we're going to take a breath. Take it on the inhale, take a breath. And now when you exhale a lot longer than your intake breath was. Do it again. This time when you exhale, do it vocally. Inhale. Do you feel your shoulders drop? Your heartbeat changes. It's your body telling your vagus nerve, or vice versa, maybe both. I'm safe now. This is a safe place. It's safe right here. It may not be safe out there, but you are safe, so you can come out now. This is a place where feeling unclenched, we can listen, we can learn, we can share, and we can love. And on that note, I'll tell you about Forest Church. The Reverend Dr. Forest Church was a Unitarian Universalist minister who served, as I mentioned before, for more than 30 years at All Souls UU Church in New York City. He was a theologian, an historian of religion, and at the end of his life, a clear-eyed guide for how to live while dying. During his ministry, the church became both a haven for spiritual seekers and a beacon of social outreach to the community. He helped to found a shelter for homeless women in Harlem, a scouting program for boys and girls at a welfare hotel, a soup kitchen adjacent to the church. During his lifetime, Church authored and co-authored more than 20 books on topics ranging from American history to liberal religion and spirituality. He was frequently interviewed by NPR as the voice of liberal religion. When he was called to All Souls Church at the, when he was called to All Souls Church, attendance hovered around 100 members. At the end of his life, the membership was in excess of 1,000. By all measures, Church's ministry was public, prolific, and powerful. But as with all of us, frail and fallible human beings, Forrest Church fought his own demons too. In the year 2000, he acknowledged his alcoholism. He joined AA and remained sober for the remaining years of his life. He faced other struggles as well. And what perhaps made him a popular minister and preacher is that he faced those struggles head on, and he used them to inform his ministry of compassion and hope. In February of 2008, he informed his congregation that he had been diagnosed with esophageal cancer and that the doctors expected him to live but a few more months. With his death sentence in hand, Forrest did what he did best. Picked up his pencil and paper, wrote a book. The book that resulted from these efforts is called Love and Death, My Journey Through the Valley of the Shadow. He expected this book to be his final work, but as a result of an experimental treatment for this disease, he lived longer than predicted. So he wrote another book. One final work entitled The Cathedral of the World, a Universalist Theology. That work was published after his death in 2009. One of his teachings, which has a very long life, a long-lasting DNA, is the following. Religion is the human response to being alive and having to die. I'm going to say it again. Religion is the human response to being alive and having to die. A little later, he refined that. And he said, religion is our human response to the dual reality of being alive and having to die. Now, I had heard these phrases a while ago, but as I came upon them again recently, I had to laugh thinking about all of the courses that exist in various schools, anything from probably maybe high school somewhere to universities on religions of the world. And I thought, what do you do with this definition of religion and all of those courses of religions of the world? I don't know. It seems like an overwhelming kind of activity to attempt. He did not give answers. There was no certainty about life. He called it a response. How we respond to the gift and the grief of being human. And how many times have you heard here and elsewhere that the most important thing about life is being the best human being you can be? In the last years of his life, while living with cancer, Forest Church distilled his whole theology into these 3 sentences. He called them a mantra for living and for dying. Want what you have, do what you can, give credit to one of my colleagues who has written sermons in depth on each one of these 3 sentences. I am not doing that today, but I pulled a couple ideas from his writing, so I have to give him credit. His name is the Reverend Peter Friedrichs. I can't tell you where he is right now. I don't know. But okay, want what you have. We spend so much of our lives wanting what we don't have. A different body, a different past, a different childhood, a different set of parents, a different place to grow up. We want more time, more money, more certainty about life. Church learned something different after his diagnosis. A friend asked him, Forrest, what is it like to have cancer? Now, personally, I think that's a stupid question to ask somebody who's just been diagnosed with cancer in those words. What's it like to have cancer? But I wasn't there. But Church said, I have learned to want what I have. He did not mean to give up on hope. He meant to stop missing his own life while he was still living it. Wanting what you have does not mean settling. It means noticing. It means gratitude without pretending that everything is fine. Sometimes pause and reflect on these questions. What is one thing you have right now that you would miss if it were gone tomorrow? Your morning coffee. The chair, the special chair in your house that you have. The breath that you just took a little while ago. Someone who knows your name. Want it while you have it. The second part of this mantra, do what you can. We cannot do everything. How many times have you either said that or been told that. We cannot fix every hurt, cure every illness. We cannot right every wrong. If we try to do everything, we end up doing nothing, frozen by what we cannot do. And I recall that I used myself as an example of this in that same sermon on the vagus nerve. I told you that you were not going to see slides from me up the wall, because I retired before people in churches started putting slides up on the walls. And I never learned how to do that. I confess I still don't get it, but I tried. I tried that time because I was thinking that I needed 6 slides because there were technical terms in that sermon. I wanted them up there. I got 3 done. I could not get back to doing any more. I froze. I was like this. I was all clenched. I couldn't. The engine light came on. But it froze me up. I still can't do it. I even thought I would try to do a slide for today and say, look what I learned. Couldn't do that either. We end up doing nothing, frozen by what we cannot do. Church put it like this: what you can do, done with love, is enough. How about that? What you can do, done with love, is enough. What you can do today might be small. Make a phone call. Say thank you. Drink water. Take a short walk. Say a prayer. Rest. Forgive one small thing. Done with love, it is enough. You do not have to save the world. You only have to do what is yours to do today. Be who you are. Got to tell you a story. When I was in seminary, as part of earning a Master of Divinity, this was for everybody who was earning a MDiv, we had to do at least one unit of CPE, Clinical Pastoral Education. Took place in the hospital, in a hospice, learning our pastoral selves, okay? I was in Massachusetts. I went to Westboro State Hospital, a psychiatric hospital. Now, I understand that Massachusetts has closed all of the psychiatric hospitals and turned them into, or changed the whole thing to community mental health centers. Sounds more humane, doesn't it? I don't have any information about who, what, how, when, why, but just the fact that that happened. But there was still a psychiatric hospital around, several around the state. First day, I'm the new student sitting in a group run by the head of spiritual care. He was a chaplain. And one of the patients asks the real question: when is God coming down here? Is God ever coming down here to save us from this hell, I was shocked. I thought, oh my God, what is he going to say? The chaplain, bless him, didn't try to answer because it would have been rescue. What he said was, you know, we look for, and I don't know, I don't remember his exact words. We look for God in the connections between us, among us. Are you friends with him? Yes. Do you do things for him? Yes. Let's talk about God being there. That's where you could find God. Because you are kind. You're doing something for a friend. And he went on. I've always remembered that experience. The very next day, I walk into the common room and a woman stands up, points at me, and says, "You're full of crap." She didn't say crap. I thought, huh. So I said, you know what? You're probably right. Now, I didn't take it to heart. It made me think a little bit, but I didn't put it into my, psychological workshop of who am I? Which is probably a very good thing. But who you are is tricky because we spend so many years, as May Sarton said, putting on other people's faces. In that hospital, I heard 2 voices in 2 days. Oh, I don't hear voices. Just because I was in a psychiatric hospital then, I do not hear voices. I heard 2 voices. One was a patient asking where God is in hell, this hell. And that's a voice I can still carry. The other was a woman having a hard day, pointing at the new chaplain student. That's a voice I could let pass. Forest Church knew that too. The successful minister with 1,000 members had to learn to listen to a different voice. This sober man, the dying man after 2008, not just a public voice that said, keep on producing, want what you have, do what you can with our actions. Be who you are is about which voices we let name us. I'm going to say that again. Be who you are is about which voices we let name us. Another little story. If I had listened to voices from my adolescence, and God knows, from your adolescence, you are surrounded by voices telling you who you should be, what you should be doing, why you should not be doing what you are doing. and on and on and on and on. If I had listened to those voices, I would not have been able, about adolescence to about 7 or 8 or 9 years later, come out as a lesbian. I had to push those voices away and listen to myself. Funny little piece of that. Back in the mid to late 70s, there was the Michigan Women's Music Festival that I went to once. I had a t-shirt that said, "I'm a lesbian, but nobody knows it." I had all kinds of comments. One of which was, "Oh, I'm so sorry. There's a workshop for you down the road." The other end of that, when my mother died in 2005. Oh, one of those experiences in my life, my father died at the beginning of my first ministry, right after seminary and ordination. And I came to Florida, and I was at Spirit of Life UU's in the northwest corner of Hillsborough County. That was my first church. 6 months into that, he died. He was in New Jersey. When I left Spirit of Life in 2005, my mother died. So my ministry at Spirit of Life was bracketed by the death of my parents. Now, how's that for an experience to work into my psychological workshop? But when my mother died, who was a nonstop critic of mine, I was able to turn the tape recorder off and move under my own. I was able to be who I am as a minister, as an adult, as a lesbian. Oh my goodness. That's a sermon in it for me. I want to get back to Forest Church, except I lost my place. Oh, I want to tell you something else, totally non-relevant to what I just said. You see me with papers and, folders and papers and turning pages. I learned when I was a musician, when I played the flute, that I knew that I would never be a jazz flautist. I have to have music in front of me. I have to have the notes in front of me. I can play a little, but, and I'm not playing the flute today. It's been a long time. But I learned that I needed those notes. And guess what? When I started writing sermons. Have you heard a minister do a sermon by walking up and down the stage without any notes whatsoever? I cannot do that. For the same reason that I can't play the flute without music in front of me. My brain is wired that way. Only one way, right in front of me. So that's not part of my sermon today, but I was just aware of my turning pages, and I thought, well, I've been blathering away about me here. I might as well throw that into. Okay. Okay. Be Who You Are is about which voices we let name us. And May Sarton knew this. when she says it's taken time. It's taken time, many years and places, and learning whose voice to keep. Now, the good news, everybody, is this. It is never too late. It's never too late to start the journey of self-discovery, of shedding the skin that we've worn since our birth. That has, like an ill-fitting suit, never felt quite right. May Sarton's testament to this when she wrote the words, "Now there is time, and time is young." And as I said before, she was 83 years old when she wrote this. It was at this chronological advanced age that she discovered her true self and finally felt her own weight and density. To be who we are is to offer to the world the greatest gift we can give. To invest our lives and all that we do with sincerity, with authenticity, and deep commitment leads us into relationships with other authentic selves. And in entering into those relationships that are sacred, and the true meaning of that word, we cannot help but bring our collective power to bear against the forces of injustice and hatred and depression. Our collective wholeness will, by definition, heal the world. We all yearn to be told that we matter, that our true selves are worthy of love and capable of loving. In our common humanity, we share our vulnerabilities and our sensitivities, and we offer them up here on the altar of hope. And I hope today that we may each find it within us, each and every day, to want what we have, do what we can, and for God's sakes, to be who you are. Amen. Amen. Blessed be.